There's a saying among some Packer fans, in Gute we trust. Why real fans should be questioning him. I'll explain why.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks for everyone making Locked On Packers their first listen of the day. We hope you enjoy spending your day with us as much as we enjoy starting our day with you. Did I throw you off at the top? Here's why Packer fans, if they are rooting for their team, which is presumably the definition of Packer fandom, here's why they should doubt Brian Gutekunst. Not because of his failures, but because of his successes. Stay with me on this. Go back to when Brian Gutekunst started. Nearly every move that he has made that has been met with an extreme amount of anxiety, of criticism, in some cases vitriol, he's ended up being right about. He was in charge when the Packers hired Matt LaFleur. Now, it was not solely his decision, but pretty big thing. He's on the brain trust. And Brian Gutekunst, along with Mark Murphy, were questioned heavily for that decision. Matt LaFleur is too green. The Titans offense wasn't very good. He's there to be a pushover for Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be able to be a leader in the room. He is not going to be able to command the attention of the quarterback. He is not going to be able to install a new offense. It will be the old Aaron Rodgers offense. Now, some of those things have cropped up in terms of the offense and the quarterback not wanting to fully buy in. The most we've seen was that 2020 season when Rodgers was unbelievable. Although, of course, he's the back-to-back MVP. But Matt LaFleur has been a terrific coach. In fact, the winningest regular season coach over a 3-year stretch. The only coach that we have ever seen win 13 games in 3 consecutive seasons. Now, there have been some failings in the playoffs. Some of that fall on the head coach. Some of that falls on the players. Some of that falls on the front office. It is hard to argue at this point that Matt LaFleur has not been a very, very good coach. He has been. That was a move a lot of people questioned. Go back an offseason. The Packers had the 14th overall pick. They had a chance to add a superstar player because one of them fell to their spot. Instead of taking Derwin James, they traded out of that spot. They got a future first-round pick from the New Orleans Saints and then moved back up to take Jair Alexander. Not taking Derwin James, considering Derwin James was then an all-pro as a rookie, drew significant criticism. In fact, the Josh Jackson trade, widely praised. Everyone said that pick, terrific, way to go, awesome value. He doesn't even play out his entire rookie contract. Jair Alexander, meanwhile, although he was hurt last season, is looking down the barrel of a top-of-market cornerback extension as one of the 3 or 5, if you want to be really, really generous to the other guys, best cornerbacks in football. Plus, you get an extra first-round pick that turned into Darnell Savage, who is a very talented player. Got a lot of questions when we did the mailbag last week about Darnell Savage, and I addressed some of them a couple weeks ago. Not the space for that now, but a very talented player at the very least. You take Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in football, plus that future first over Derwin James, I would say pretty comfortably. That was the right move. Go into that offseason, that 2019 offseason. Zadarius Smith, overpay. Preston Smith, well, why do you need them both? Adrian Amos, overpay. Billy Turner, overpay. Zadarius Smith was incredible for 2 seasons before getting hurt. Preston Smith was incredible for a season, was not great in 2020, but then was invaluable to this team last year when they needed the extra edge player because Zadarius Smith got hurt. Adrian Amos has been one of the 6, 8, 10 best safeties in football. Absolutely worth all the money Green Bay is paying him. Billy Turner, invaluable resource to this team. Guard, tackle, left tackle, right tackle. Absolutely worth his money and then some. Those were terrific moves and enormous risks in the case of Zadarius Smith. You are giving a huge amount of money to someone who has never been a preferred full-time starter. And it worked. He got a D in the free agent grades for that. A D. No one liked that Zadarius Smith signing except your boy, who was saying before they signed him, they should sign him, but I assume Baltimore is going to re-sign him because why wouldn't they? And then they didn't, and then Green Bay did. And you know what happened after that. If you look at the draft picks, Rashawn Gary, reach. I said it. Everyone said it. Like 4 people liked that pick. He's a superstar. Eric Stokes, reach. Everyone said it. I said it. Most people said it. He was arguably the best rookie corner in the league last year and looks like he has a very, very bright future. When he faces the most criticism, he tends to be right. Now, Jordy Nelson, Jimmy Graham, that little switcheroo, terrible. Bad. Not good. Substandard. Not what you want. Right? Okay. Jordan Love, well, we'll see. I think there are going to always be some Packer fans who insist that it should have been literally anyone else. It's hard not to separate, or it's hard to separate that pick from what we saw from Aaron Rodgers that season. Even reports from guys like Mike Silver, who are very hooked in with Aaron Rodgers, saying that the frustration there was something that he channeled. Rodgers did over the course of the season. This is a player who thrives on slights, and if your selection helped even 5-10% create an MVP player, you could argue that's worth it. It also suggests that maybe the Packers are onto something here. That maybe Jordan Love is a player, because that was a pick that was highly criticized. Again, he's not 100%. That's not what this is about. But as we go into this offseason, and we're going to talk about some of the other moves that they may need to make, and that they may have already made. But remember, if something happens that makes you want to criticize what the team does, or what Brian Gutekunst in this front office decides to do, remember how it has worked out in the past for them when that happens. When they make these big bets. Because these were big bets. The Rashawn Gary pick, that's a big bet. The Eric Stokes pick in a crucial draft. When they know Aaron Rodgers is real pissed. And remember, they picked Eric Stokes the same night the Adam Schefter report came out. There was as much pressure on that first round pick as there has been on any pick before it was made in modern Packers history. I don't think that's hyperbole to say. And it looks like they nailed it. So just remember that as we head through the next couple weeks. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one spot for basketball, pro and college this season. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next coach fired is going to land, betonline.net is your number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for everything you need when it comes to gambling, and it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds. Right to Olympic coverage. Well, Olympic coverage is over, but anything that you want, golf, all of that stuff, it's there. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about trends in action. Bet online, where the game starts. And thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen every day. Make sure you're following Locked On NFL. Locked On's experts covering the biggest stories around the NFL every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. We talked on the show yesterday about Devondre Campbell and him being in Green Bay and what this means and what it signals about Aaron Rodgers. And Allen Lazard went on IG over the weekend on Instagram Live and said he was going to be in Green Bay this weekend. No moves were announced. No moves were announced. There was, I guess, a report that there was a conversation between Devondre Campbell and the Packers. It was reported, I guess, this is hard for this is a gray area because sources were not cited. There was no public release of information that I can tell that anything happened with these contracts. But as we talked about last week, Devondre Campbell, Kevin King, Robert Tonyan, and Chandon Sullivan had money that needed to be dealt with. They needed to get extensions ahead of this deadline, or that money would accelerate onto the cap. We, at this moment, do not know the status of those contracts. And actually, if you look at Over the Cap, which is a website that tracks these things, has the Kevin King void not hitting until the 23rd. These are things, and I talked to a couple agents about this yesterday. These are things that are negotiated individually. There isn't like some void deadline. So when you are looking at the reports, understand that it has to be based on whatever is in the contract. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it. Here is what we know. When those contracts void, we're talking about over $6 million in voids. Over $50 million the Packers have to get under the cap with this money now having to be dealt with. And it's dead money. You can't deal really with dead money. So once it's dead, once that action hits, it's dead, it's dead. Hence, dead. What is interesting to me, though, is that we don't know. We don't know. So why not? Why not? Why don't we know? If this was just your normal run-of-the-mill, the clock ran out and now the money is accelerated onto the cap, why didn't we get a press release about it? Why didn't the NFL, which normally sends out these sorts of transaction wire memos, why wasn't it on there? Why was Devondre Campbell and Allen Lazard in Green Bay in the first place? Now, they could just be going to hang out with Devontae Adams. He's probably not in Green Bay. But pick a player. They could be going to see Leroy Butler. There could be a lot of reasons. He lives in Milwaukee, by the way. There could be a lot of reasons that they're in Green Bay. It seems like a lot of coincidences. Brian Gutekunst slated to talk on Wednesday. That was a pre-scheduled press conference. That is a pre-combine press conference. That's coming up here like soon. And maybe Aaron Rodgers is the special guest on Pat McAfee show today. Maybe we find out all of this today. But here is, I think, the key here. I am advising caution on everything that you're seeing, because we are not going to get drips and drabs of information. I don't think. We are going to get it all at once. It is going to be Rodgers' announcement and a bunch of moves. Whether it's trade, whether it's back, whether it's retirement. And I really only think there's two options. I think there's he's coming back or he's retiring. You don't go on Pat McAfee's show to say, send me to Denver. I just don't see that happening. That is a juicy storyline, but that is full NWO level of heel turn. That is Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash stuff. I'm not even a big wrestling head, but I happen to know that reference. It's Kevin Nash, right? Yeah. I hope I got that right. This is going to all come to a head at some point. I don't think we're going to get, a little hint here. A little hint here. A little hint. It seems pretty unlikely that that's how this is going to all play out. And so until we know, that's how I'm going to treat it, is that we don't know. Because guess what? We don't know. We don't know. And I think the reason we don't know is because the Packers are waiting for Aaron Rodgers. And then they're going to announce a bunch of stuff. Because they have to be working behind the scenes. It's also part of the thing you hear, you see people say, the Packers are working on this. By the way, be very sure that you're dealing with reputable people. A lot of Twitter accounts out there that just aggregate social media rumors. A lot of accounts out there that only make things up, but are sometimes confirming things that are already out there. And so you might see a retweet into your timeline. Oh, that guy is right. Or it's always a guy. It's actually usually an anonymous account that's like NFL Insider Pro. And it's like, are you? No, probably not. Because if you were really, you'd be employed as one. And because newsbreakers are really, really valuable. So be careful where you're getting your information. But also, I don't think the Packers, irrespective of what the ultimate outcome is, I don't think they want to tip their hand in any way. Precisely because you never know. You never know. You don't want to hurt your bargaining power. Because, let's be honest, guys, Devondre Campbell, does he know what Aaron Rodgers is doing? Are they boys? Are they friends enough that he can call him up and say, hey, what's the deal? Shannon Sullivan? Kevin King? Can those guys just text Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, what's going on? What are we doing? I'm sure Devontae Adams can. Randall Cobb. Maybe Billy Turner. But not every player, not every agent is going to know exactly what's going on. So the Packers have to, from their side, maintain all of this. Now, they also, it should be noted, right now look like they're operating from the position of strength. And guess what? Guess who that matters to? The Packers. Guess why we've been hearing about how confident the Packers are that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back? Because it makes it a lot easier to tell these free agents, hey, come back, win a Super Bowl. Rodgers is coming back. We'll give you the money. He's going to play 2 more years. So we'll give you a multi-year deal. And that makes it easier for us. We can spread the cap hit out. And isn't this great? That's what they want. There's a reason. There's always a reason. You have to, when you see reporting, and I mean real reporting from reputable sources, there is always a reason that stuff gets out. Now, it's not always nefarious, and frankly, it's usually pretty transparent. Oh, okay. We see who benefits from this. We get it. And sometimes it's plainly obvious that whatever newsbreaker it is just like pasting a text from an agent, which I love. God, I love it. Just service the agent. Yeah, this guy, I know he's got a lot left in the tank. He may be 46, but he's got a lot left in the tank, got a lot to prove. Can't wait to see what he does. And it's just like, Really? It's like the Rock gif where he's like, oh, yeah, that one. If you can't see me. This is an audio medium on podcast, but you can see me on the video. You can see the meme. You know what I'm talking about. And if you're listening, you know the meme probably. You know the meme, or you can imagine one. You can imagine it. I think we're gonna find out when we find out. It's not gonna be from some Twitter account, and it probably is not even gonna be from a beat reporter. It's gonna be from Aaron Rodgers' mouth that we find out what his deal is, and then again, I don't think it's gonna be a lot of reporting because I don't think the Packers want to leak any of this. Now the agents might, but if you're the Packers and you're talking to these agents, going, look, this is important to Aaron Rodgers. If you leak this, Aaron Rodgers is going to know. And he's going to be pissed. No one wants that either. So, yes, do these agents want the credit for their new deals or their restructures or all that stuff? Yes. But a lot of the salary cap shenanigans that the Packers are going to have to engage in aren't even about that. It's just, okay, David Bakhtiari, money is bonus. Kenny Clark, money is bonus. Aaron Jones, money is bonus. You convert that salary to bonus, simple restructure, and you don't have to ask anyone's permission. You can just do it. You just pull the lever, crank, and it's done. So you don't even need the agent's permission to do it. The player just gets a nice fat check. It's great. That's why this stuff has not leaked. That's why we haven't heard word one on this. Everyone is waiting for Aaron Rodgers. When Aaron Rodgers announces, we will get all the answers that we are looking for. So all of that is related to what we started this discussion talking about. Why haven't we heard anything about these players? A decision is coming very soon from Aaron Rodgers. I think today. And then Brian Gutekunst will provide all the clarity that we need on Wednesday. That's how this is going to play out, I'm telling you. And I hope that by the time you listen to this, I'm not proven wrong. But it just, again, I am operating with some limited information and Occam's razor. That the simplest solution is the most likely. And I think that's where we are with this one. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on your computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain auto parts store or car dealership? RockAuto.com? That's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. RockAuto.com prices are reliably low for every customer, so go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. And thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football's top prospects and NFL's front offices. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. An interesting report from Lance Zierlein, who is down in Houston, but he's mainly an NFL draft guy, but he talks to people. The NFL draft beat often requires these conversations with front offices, and he said it's a fire sale in Houston. Expect Brandin Cooks to be traded, Laramie Tunsil to be traded. And I pitched on this show Brandin Cooks in a trade for Zadarius Smith. Now, it doesn't save the Packers money. They'd have to rework that deal, but Brandin Cooks would get to go to an offense that he knows, would get to play for a Super Bowl, would get to go from Houston to somewhere not Houston, and it would give the Packers a bona fide speedster plus someone who can work underneath, a number two option that they have not had in a long time. I was asked on a radio show yesterday, who is the free agent that I most have my eye on for the Packers? Who is most important that they keep? And I don't think the answer is this player. But Marquez Valdes-Scantling is an essential piece to this offense. And without him, this team lacks a game breaker over the top, a deep speed threat. Devontae Adams can win deep. He can create splash plays over the top. He is more than capable of doing that. His ability to win from the slot on slot fades, double moves from the outside, those transition go balls where he just wins at the release and he's gone. All of that stuff, that is great. It is not the same as what having Marquez out there also provides. Now, MVS said that the Packers want him back, that they're working on a deal. One of the reasons why I'm dubious of some of the stuff out there about like Devondre Campbell is, oh yeah, they called a week ago to say, do you want to come back? Where MVS saying like a month ago that, yeah, the team wants me back. We're talking, I want to come back. Like those conversations are being had. The guy's under contract. You can talk about it. So some weird stuff going on there. The point is, this is a position the Packers have to address, the speed receiver. If they're not going to keep Quez, then you need to get someone. And maybe it's not Brandin Cooks. That was just a name I threw out there, and it turns out he's going to be available. But you could go into the draft. Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, all that stuff. And there are plenty of guys in there that could give you what you're missing. That said, it's a rookie. Is Aaron Rodgers, if he's the quarterback, going to throw to that guy? Pretty big question that you're facing. So would a veteran make more sense? Could you take that 12 plus million in base, slap some void years on it, and spread it out, turn it, finagle it, work out an extension, something like that, where he's still getting his money, but then he also gets a chance to compete for a title and you reduce that cap hit. Could that work out for the Packers? Wouldn't have to be Zadarius Smith, but I think it could. I think it's something that the Packers could and should consider. So just something that I wanted to follow up on there. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow. A lot more to get to this week. I expect us to be talking about some big things this week, and I hope we get to do that. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to hit us up on the Locked On Packers fan hotline, you can do that, 920-341-3775 to stay Locked On Packers.